Fundamental to technical, let's take some trading ideas from our technical experts, and we are also now joined by Manav Chopra, who's head research India Bulls Venture. Let me first go to CK and understand. CK, we are seeing some of the stocks doing pretty okay, but more or less stocks are going down. I'm seeing on my screen Sun TV is at the lowest point of the day. BHEL, everyone thought probably 65-70 would be support zone. That is going. Stock is trading at a multi-year low. But you are opting for some mid-cap names to short, Strides Pharma and Repco Home Finance. Why so?
Well, I think you see mid-cap is where the retail trade generally prospects and tries to bottom fish and all that. And since many a times, particularly on these weak hands which get knocked about and rather severely at that, I think if there were to be continued decline, mid-cap stocks would suffer more because retail trade does not have the capability to hold on to their position even if they see some bit of weakness, or they could be pushed out of positions rather easily. So with that view in mind, I am looking at stocks which continue to break down and which are having open to close sort of decline type setup for today. I think those are the ones I would favor for continued shorting. So Strides Arco comes up fairly well in that, breaking former swing lows at the current prices around 432.33. Can short this with about a 6-7 rupees stop loss. Target about 425, 426. Similarly, Repco Home, which has been under considerable pressure. In fact, barring HDFC, most of the others are under severe pressure. Repco also breaking previous swing lows, sell for a target of 322.
Certainly, mid-cap stocks are sell idea. Manas, very quickly, we are seeing, Lupin going below its 200 DMA and important support breach. You are shorting that along with Karnataka Bank.
It is sell Siddharth because the stock was facing resistance near to its 50-day moving average for last, I think, seven trading sessions. And today, since the stock has already broken the support of 100, I believe that the stock can test 93 in the coming days. So take a short call here, keep the stop loss above 102. Secondly, the sell on Lupin because most of the pharma stocks are looking weak and the stock has broken an important support of 838.35 today. So I feel that here you may see some more follow-up selling pressure. The target would be around 775 and the stop loss should be 835.
Manav, welcome to ET Now. Thank you for joining us. We'll come to your market view, but before that, let's discuss why you are buying Siemens. That stock is showing some signs of consolidation. Apart from that, what are the rationale? And metal stocks are under pressure. You are shorting Nalco.
Exactly. In fact, Siemens have seen a series of decline from its recent peak of 1500, and since past 4 to 5 weeks, there are some short-term consolidation and accumulation pattern at lower levels. The prices are forming a series of minor higher bottoms, and the volumes that has observed in Siemens in past 4-5 weeks, it's after 2011, and this is sensing for a good confident bet at the current levels. I sense the risk reward ratio is very attractive for Siemens at the current zone. 900 is the crucial support, and that is the stop loss. If that is holds, we can expect levels of 990. My second call is sell on Nationalum. In fact, the prices have reached its crucial support levels, and the recent decline has also accompanied by above average volumes and spikes, and the momentum indicators continue to remain in sell mode. Overall, the stock is sell on rise. We recommend a sell into this with a stop of 63 for lower targets of 56, and my last call would be a sell on Raymond's. In fact, the prices have also breached its support trend line, and it has confirmed a short-term trend reversal. The prices are also on verge of breakdown of 100 EMA.
Absolutely, Manav. We'll discuss your Raymond call in a while. Let's take a quick commercial break, and on the other side of the break, we'll discuss that what is taking Nifty down by 200 points. Stay tuned.
Hi, I need veneer from The operative payback is that still on?
मिस्टर मालिक कुछ दिनों से आप ट्वीट कर रहे हैं, आप ये कहकर कि आप पैसा वापस लौटाना चाहते हैं। आपको लग रहा है कि क्या आपको आज वापस ले जाया जा सकता, मतलब आज आपके इस हेडेड टू जिससे शायद आज सेक्टर में ना हो at the court, if you could see the huge interest here among international media as well as Indian media who here in London.
share your feelings with us, VJ?
Mr. Malia, of course, tweeted a few days ago that
He wants to be walking to a certain place,
the
not
money that
outside
he
the
borrowed
door.
and he was chairman of the Kingfisher Airlines. Please take the money. And we're going to be asking him whether that comment is genuine. The key is to check what that will be
Mike's down. Let him speak, please. Please allow Mr. Malia to speak.
Ms. Malia, speak first, so we'll ask you.
Mr. Malia, क्या आप डर रहे हैं?
Please allow him to speak.
Okay, yes.
Whatever the judgment, my legal team will require and take from steps for us. Yes, I have been saying that I and other employees very much included and other creditors, employees very much included. But that has nothing to do with this extradition decision. This is a completely separate matter.
Move this mic.
And my settlement offers are not related to the judgment that will be delivered today. I have filed a comprehensive settlement application before the Karnataka High Court, which coincidentally is also being heard today. And it is in that context that I want to disprove the narrative that I stole money by offering to make a 100% settlement. So please understand the context in which I tweeted. As far as today is concerned, I've been watching with great interest all the Indian television channels this morning. And finally, you yourself have said, either which way, whatever the judgment is, what is the way forward, you've already said it. So I have nothing more to add.
I have a question.
You must be aware that your offer to pay the money back is completely independent from the extradition itself. It's fundamentally irrelevant.
My settlement application before the Karnataka High Court.
Have you had enough
Now if
response
you
from
will
anybody?
now if you will please allow me
The
to
question.
go into court because I do not want to be
So
late.
one last question. How genuine is the offer? Where will this money come from, sir?
The-
1 second, please. How genuine is your offer, sir,
There
to
is
pay up?
nothing genuine or ingenuine. Please understand, the offer has made before a court of law. Nobody disrespects a court of law by making a bogus offer.
But Mr. Malia, you left the country when the Supreme Court was seized of the matter.
The assets have been attached by the Enforcement Directorate on their own admission. So they can't be bogus assets. Alright? Today those very same assets are before the court. The Enforcement Directorate and the banks are fighting over the same assets. The same assets have a value that is more than enough to pay everybody. And that's exactly what I'm focusing on.
Are you then ready, sir, for a
जाने से मना क्यों
negotiation?
करें आप इंडिया क्यों नहीं जाना चाह
Are you then ready, sir, for a negotiation?
Why you don't want to go
I'm
to
sorry,
India?
I have to be in
The
court.
point is that Supreme Court was negotiating on your behalf. Why did you leave the country, Mr. Malia, in between? That's the whole point. And if you would you contest it now today? If you lose the appeal?
This is not an appeal, as you know.
I know, but will
I
you go in
heard
for
you on
appeal?
the television as well.
Yeah.
You know what you're asking me today and what you said 2 days ago in the TV, to which I responded.
Yes, you did, but there was nothing absolutely incorrect in that, Mr. Malia.
Have you been, Mr. Malia, somebody will all of you on a bail?
Absolutely not, and that's it, either which way. Please decide.
Was the Christian Michel extradition, did that give you cause for concern?
There are so many extradition cases. Each one is individual. One cannot feed off the other. So I didn't even know about Christian Michel or his extradition when I tweeted my offer for settlement. That's the truth.
Mr. Malia, does Sanjeev Savla situation have any impact on it? How is Mr. Malia?
So there you heard
Can we go across to Nikunj? Okay, that's our colleague from Times Now, and I think he was just giving a summary of what just transpired there. Vijay Mallya speaking with the press, saying precious little to indicate, and one would of course give him the benefit of doubt because he's stepping into court right now and he wouldn't want to second guess the court's decision, so playing it safe. But he did give out some details which I want to just recap for the benefit of our viewers. He's saying the ED has attached assets and so they cannot be bogus. So he's saying that these are very relevant assets, they're material assets, and these assets can be monetized to pay off the banks. Have filed comprehensive settlement application before Karnataka High Court. Settlement offer has nothing to do with the extradition case. In fact, there is nothing genuine or ingenuine about the offer made before the court of law. ED has attached assets and so they are not bogus, they cannot be called bogus. Was not aware of any other case with regards to the whole extradition process. So he says this has primarily been driven by his own call and his own judgment of the situation, and he believes that he must settle the case with the government back home. One will have to see actually in a few moments from now, the UK Westminster Court will come out with their verdict, and that will be another big story for the day. It's D-Day for Mallya as we're calling it, and just stay tuned to the channel. In just maybe less than half an hour we would have more details about what the court decides. Chakri Lokriya joins in with his perspective in the markets. Chakri, great to have you in the show. Vijay Mallya is really an example of what's happening with the whole lending culture in India. I would also talk about how Arvind Subramaniam, who's the ex-CAE, highlighted in an interview to my colleague Supriya Srinath earlier today that it's important to improve the lending culture. You just can't keep providing liquidity lifelines to institutions so as to deal with problems that they have created with regards to giving bad loans. Chakri, as an investor, is that also your thought process, and which is why you would not venture, aside of the quality names, you would not venture in this space because you know what kind of bad loans and how deep the problem is?
Well, today, post 2013 to now, the NPAs have increased, economic activity has kind of slowed down. Interest on the old NPAs has also accumulated, and so some which were good credits have turned bad credits now. Some of them were made in good faith and they were good loans at that point in time, and so I wouldn't put everything under one or paint everything under with one brush saying that they were all bad companies. So today is environment. I would clearly stay away from the highly levered companies, but as long as there is a turnaround plan in place, for example, take Jindal Steel and Power. It has a firm, it is a highly levered company, they have a firm plan in place, there is equity funding available, and we would look at companies like that.
Okay. That of course is about the entire banking space in general, but Chakri, since we're talking about banks and we're talking about lending, etc., I'm going to ask you an ancillary question which I even asked Sudeep, NBFCs, and the reason why I want to bring this up again and again, because almost every single day we have a big brokerage house talking about how the liquidity crisis is actually eased off quite a bit. Managements as well come on our channel and speak about the easing liquidity crisis, but do you believe that by the time lending will again start picking up, by the time credit growth will again start picking up, it's going to be some time?
Yeah, these are all good questions. The lending growth will pick up, and also RBI has a very important role to play in terms of continuing its OMOs at least for the next several months, and not stepping away from doing its bit will be a key part of this recovery of easing of liquidity in the marketplace. So having said that, one thing which is bound to happen is even with higher liquidity available, the lending growth rates are likely to come off extremely sharply for all NBFCs, right from the well-managed ones to the not so well-managed ones. And of course, some of the banks are buying out portfolios, and so you have overnight increase in market share by banks at the expense of NBFCs. So against this backdrop, NBFCs valuations would contract, and banks on the margin will gain from this whole liquidity problem which has been created in the last couple of months.
Chakri, a lot of these PSU names, and I'm not talking here about PSU banks, be it BHEL, PFC, REC, or NTPC, NMDC of the world, Coal India, Steel Authority. A lot of these stocks are at multi-year low. A lot of people are making an argument of investing in these stocks on basis of dividend yield they offer. But then what's the guarantee of earnings remaining this way and dividend yield being there? Any space within this basket which is looking attractive to you from investment perspective, from medium to long term perspective?
Said these are all good companies, but I would like to stay away from this whole pack, the PSU pack that is, because I wish I clearly knew whether it's PFC buying REC or REC is buying PFC, and then we can decide on who's going to pay out the dividends. And I think this is a trend that we are going to continue to see over the coming months, because the disinvestment target needs to be met. And so against that backdrop, higher regulatory pressure is kind of, or you buy them whole as a basket where somehow some amount of the dividend comes out, but otherwise I would stay away from this whole PSU pack.
Okay. Chakri, give us your sense on the HUL deal. I don't think we've spoken since. Do you think HUL is a buy at current levels?
The HUL clearly looks good. Valuation is clearly not a factor. Against in environments like this, its valuation will only get richer, but the certainty of cash flow plus the deal, which is also accretive, and also allows it a strong foothold with a strong brands into its current portfolio, will do well for the company, and also does very well with its existing distribution system. So the kind of synergies that will naturally get from marketing, increasing the market reach of the products, are all very clearly evident. So against the backdrop, I still think that HUL, for a long-term investor, there is still money to be made.
Right. We just wanted to get your sense on this whole Kotak deal and how you're approaching it. New reports are indicating that Berkshire Hathaway could be interested. What would it mean for the sector as a whole? I know it's always seen as an endorsement of the kind of bullishness BH would have in the Indian financial sector, but we know why Kotak is diluting, we know why Kotak is bringing down its stake. So from that perspective, how do you think the two objectives will come together?
Indeed, I still recall, I think it was a couple of years ago, when you had a fantastic interview with the man himself, with Warren Buffett, and it was an extremely well-watched interview. So now, if that turns out to be true, and if indeed he buys a stake in any one of the banks and then Kotak, it will kind of re-rate the entire banking sector, at least the private sector, because it's a recognition of not just one company, that it is a sector which sees sufficient growth going into the future. So that is point number one. Point number two is deal or no deal. I think Kotak has done the right thing by approaching the High Court, because it's still right in its viewpoint of meeting its goal of diluting the promoter stake. Now, whether it's paid up capital or whether it's equity capital is a detail which should have been thought by the authorities, but if you're meeting the norm, you're meeting the norm. And also, if you look at the whole thing, there's no such thing as all promoters are bad for the companies that they own and run. There are good guys and bad guys. So against this backdrop, I think Kotak's approaching the High Court on RBI's decision of this preferential share issue, it probably clears up a number of grey issues, or rather unsaid issues, but more importantly, it meets the guidelines, which I think is a positive.
All right. Let's at this point in time introduce my colleague Vivek Kayar, who has been working the phones trying to get a sense of what exactly dealing rooms are pointing out to as top trends. Vivek?
Well, if you're talking about what dealing rooms are about with at this point of time, it's extreme caution going into such a major event as tomorrow. What they're saying is that be very, very light, be very light on your portfolio. Don't take any leverage positions going into trade tomorrow. Given the fact that the exit polls have suggested somewhat of a hung verdict, what's actually happening at this point of time, there's a complete risk of sentiment. In fact, if you're looking at the market, Nifty is trading below the 10,500 mark, and technically too, a lot of people at this point of time are turning quite bearish. In terms of individual stocks to watch out for, Aurobindo Pharma at this point of time, dealers suggest that there's a complete breakdown as far as chart patterns are concerned. They believe that further downside is likely as far as Aurobindo Pharma is concerned. On the other hand, OMCs, especially Indian Oil Corporation, dealers are suggesting to buy this particular name. Strong flows have been seen in this particular name since morning, and it's holding up quite smartly in the session today. And lastly, Coal India, this is one particular name that's been beaten down quite a bit, but dealers at this point of time believe that this could be a safe bet, a defensive bet. They're looking at this more as a positional trade, and so Coal India is another stock to keep an eye on.
Okay, thanks Vivek for that. The metals and mining business, Chakri, do you have any favorites there?
The favorites continue to be the frontline names, the Tata Steels, the JSW Steel and the Hindalcos of the world, but they've been kind of caught up in some kind of maelstrom, or the US-China trade will lead to a trade slowdown and therefore demand for metals, which is unlikely in my view as far as the demand for steel in India is considered. And from that perspective, I think the JSW Steel looks good. And also, for that matter, Hindalco, from the business that it does in selling Pepsi cans as well as, autos, I don't think that's going to really impact demand that much. It will change their estimates. So at current valuations, they're looking good. And they've taken a lot of knocks in the last several sessions. So I think it's likely that we will see some kind of a rebound as and when, the US kind of trends up in the next day or two.
This time we are seeing, biggest correction in JSW Steel. Otherwise, the correlation of JSW Steel with other steel names or metal pack has been, very less. That probably gives a wonderful opportunity to buy, according to Chakri Lokpriya, and he's also bullish on Hindalco. Chakri, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insight about markets and different sectors which we discussed, and I'm sure our viewers are benefiting out of it. Thank you for joining us. Let's take closing trades from our technical experts. And CK, coming to you, OMCs, some of them you're liking. BPCL is a buy call for you. And no respite for stocks which name starts with Sun TV, Sun Pharma are continuously seeing formation of short positions. You are opting to short Sun TV?
Well, I think Sun TV continues to present us with fresh shorting opportunities as it breaks down ledge formations or support zone on intraday charts. The trend has been down anyway, and these kind of breakdowns on intraday charts are just fresh signals for the continuation of the trend in the same direction. So Sun TV is a short, 575 is the current price, 78 rupees as the stop, and looking for 562, 565 as the target. OMC stocks are weathering the storm today, perhaps some sort of rear guard buying, some let's say safe haven type buying. I don't know what reason, but the fact that they are kind of bucking the trend would probably suggest that if tomorrow matters were to improve, then these stocks could still be into that upwardly biased movement, which can then propel BPCL towards 337.38. So with a tight stop around 325.26, would recommend a buy.
Okay, Manas, you're shorting cement name Ambuja Cement stocks are under pressure, and Tata Global, now that stock is at not multi-year, but I would say is lowest since October 2017. You think there would be further downside in Tata Global?
Without in Ambuja Cement, because most of the cement counters are looking weak, and Ambuja Cement has already broken the support of 206 on the charts. So I believe that here you can see some more correction. Target would be around 195 and the stop loss should be 210. Tata Global is a clear sell now because it is still making lower top and lower bottom, and I think for last 4-5 weeks time stock was taking support near 205, 203 zone, but today the stock has broken that support also. So I think here you may see some more follow-up selling pressure. Target would be around 190. I just want to revise my stop loss downwards. Now the stop loss should be 203 and target would be 190.
Okay, revising stop loss downward. And Manav, let's discuss your sell in Raymond now, and one more stock, and I'm assuming it might be a sell call because markets are already down by 215 points.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, what I had mentioned about Raymond is, the prices have seen a decline from its support trend line, and the prices are on verge of a breakdown of its 100 EMA, and the overall medium-term trend for the stock has been on the downside. So it provides a high risk-reward ratio entry at the current levels. There is a stiff resistance at 775 on the upside, and any short-term rally towards these should be initiated for fresh shorts. The lower targets for Raymond is at 735 on the lower side. The other sell call that I would like to update would be on BHEL. The prices has been overall been in a good downtrend, and we have not seen any sharp retracement rally, but as the prices sees a breakdown into the stock, eventually it leads to another 8 to 10% decline. So a fresh breakdown of its weekly support, I think one can still initiate fresh shorts. On the upside, 64 is a resistance, 65 can be the stop loss, and for one can trade this for a lower targets of 58.
Okay, BHEL is a sell call from Manav. Manav, before we start wrapping up market, let me ask your in-house market view. We have seen Nifty bouncing back from 10,000 to almost 11,000 odd levels. That was around 61% of retracement of the previous fall. And now we are seeing that some of the important supports are getting breached. Our experts were talking about 10,700. That has been challenged. 10,450 is now everybody is eyeing for. What is your positional Nifty view?
See, our positional Nifty view would remain bullish as long as we hold the support of 10,400 and 10,450. The only concern is that the recent decline in the indices has been with a falling gap pattern. So, that is a sign of worry. So, usually that also mention about the momentum and the likely chances of a support breakdown. And since the event is lined up tomorrow, I think only post that we will have a very clear idea as to what could be the, the actual whether the support is held or not. But as long as 10,400 on the Nifty level is held, I think there is a high chances where the market could look to form a higher base at 10,400 sub 10,500 levels. As long as these levels are held, I think we can still look to consolidate and eventually see a rally going on the upside. Only a break below 10,400 we will review our bullish stance, and then that could lead to some sell-off. So at the moment we are eyeing very closely from some stock specific long-term ideas, but that will only be initiated post the event.
Okay, let's start wrapping up the markets. You have the Nifty, which is down 2% as we speak, and the broader markets also coming under selling pressure. And that's getting translated very quickly onto what what the advanced decline ratio is looking like, yawning gap in the period of declines, and all across the board. Kotak Bank down 5.5%, pretty much negating all the gains it made in Friday's session. Reliance Industries down 4%, Enables Housing Finance, Electric Cement, Bajaj Finance, Bajaj Finserv, all of these stocks under pressure. Tata Motors, Airtel, Infosys, Axis Bank, L&T, all of these stocks are also under pressure as we speak. Actually, it's a sea of red across the board, hardly any gainers. Guess what's gaining? Well, there are no surprises for guessing over here for sure. But yeah, then we'll have to talk about gainers. But interestingly, the list of gainers has at least become a little larger, and it's OMCs that's actually taking charge over here. IOC has certainly seen a very choppy day. Now it's higher by a good 3.2%. Remember that they do have their board meeting day after tomorrow, or rather on Thursday, where they are going to decide on a buyback. OMCs, BPCL and HPCL too are giving IOC company in that list of Nifty gainers. We also have Maruti, which is higher by 0.2%. Eicher Motors absolutely flat, but I would still say that's quite commendable given that the market is dropping like a pack of cards. 210 points gone. I'm just going to also run you through from the broader markets what are the big gainers and losers. 10% gone for an Infibeam, huge decline seen over there. Aviation stocks, Jet Airways, SpiceJet, Indigo, all of them as well are declining, and how on account of the rebound in crude prices too. So you are going to see that concomitant impact come here as well. Then mixed names coming in. But before that, Adani, that's a group of stocks that has been crumbling under pressure. Adani Power, Adani Enterprises and Adani Transmission, all three of them are in fact losing, and how in trade. Adani Green Energy as well, in fact the newest listing. Forget to pull that one up usually, but yeah, 7% gone for that one too. 7% for Adani Power. Massive pressure that these stocks have come by. You could perhaps attribute it to a tad bit to the elections, the state elections. And then we also have realty names. Indiabulls Real Estate continues to fall, 70 rupees now. And look at the way this one has fallen from those recent highs of, or maybe not recent highs, but 1 year high at least, of more than 260 rupees. Now it's just at a mere 70 rupees. And that's been the case with all Indiabull companies. Indiabulls Ventures too today has lost about 7% odd. Now it's only at about 341. It's almost 70% gone from even the yearly high. PFC REC too, the declining trend over there continues. PFC now at 84 odd rupees. REC too falls. I think we did talk about Kotak Bank, but I would like to put that one up again. It's now at 1200 odd rupees, 6%, very close to just erasing all the gains that it saw on Friday's session post that market, post that media report. That news certainly is something that everybody will be watching out for. I think the very first time that a bank is actually taking the RBI to court, to put it in a very, to put it in an extreme way, of course. Reliance Nippon is a loser. VIP Industries, Philips Carbon from the commodities pack as well is falling. But yeah, like Tanveer said, what are the gainers? The list has, again, it's definitely enlarged over here. Tixmaco Rail 5.6% higher, holding on over there. Ashoka Bilcon, not necessarily, but there's a trigger here, but it's a little over 5% higher. We also have TTK Prestige and some PSU banks, like you have an Allahabad Bank that is being able to show some resilience today in trade despite the weakness in the rest of the pack. We also have Ipca Labs that's gaining, Reddington that's being able to hold on very smartly. Dish TV too, Siddharth is doing very well.
Well, Dish TV, yes, it's doing well, but we need to, understand the fact that Jio is disrupting the sector, Mobila, and we have seen Dish TV underperforming big time, and there were a lot of short positions in Dish TV. I don't know what's the news which is keeping the stock up, but maybe, traders are finding other stocks more lucrative to short, and there are a lot of short positions in Dish TV, so some covering over there and shifting to some other stocks to make more money. But let's go to our experts and see that what they are saying when it comes to this kind of fall. CK, this is the lowest point on which Nifty has closed for the day, 217 points down for Nifty, and I understand the apprehension which exit poll has thrown in front of traders and investors. Now, we were discussing to most of the experts a few days back, and most of them told that if results are not favorable, then probably markets would react at most 2%. And we are already seeing that on exit poll, markets have reacted 2%. Do you think if exit poll comes true, the potential downside can be much more?
Well, you see, the potential for downside becomes a lot if there were lots of pending long positions, which I don't believe is the case in this market. Because all through last week, 4 out of 5 sessions, the market saw steady declines, with Thursday showing substantial liquidation of positions. I thought today the market might finish a bit off the lows, because I would have surmised that there would have been some intraday shorts which had got created after the exit polls. But the way the market has finished near the lowest point would probably speak up for further long liquidations which have happened, maybe out of sheer disappointment of what came in the exit polls, and perhaps some fear that the actual results may be even worse than what the exit polls have indicated. So my sense here is that a good chunk of the longs which were there in the market are liquidated. These are leverage longs that I'm talking about. Portfolio longs, of course, continue, and they don't really come in for daily trading. So the worsening effect, I think, is into the prices already. So unless the BJP gets really trounced, I don't think we'll see too much of a decline. If they do reasonably well, the effect could be completely opposite, and whatever shorts are there, they could come in for some closeouts, as well as some adventurous buying could also happen. So tomorrow is certainly not a predictable day, and one has to react post the event rather than forecast it or try any kind of anticipation.
Okay, we might, get, results say by 10 or 11 a.m. But Manas, you are talking about 10,450 as an important level. Even Manav referred to that level as a level before which, he won't turn bearish and probably, a bullishness would continue. If, and this is a big if market goes below 10,400, what are the chances that we might visit 10,000 again?
Siddharth, definitely Nifty has disappointed because today's Nifty has broken the trend, what it is making for last, I think, 5-6 weeks time. It was making higher top and higher bottom, but today since it has broken the recent swing low of 10,489. So this is a change in trend definitely. So, and especially when Nifty is trading 200-day moving average, and we have seen a lot of selling pressure in last 4-5 trading sessions. I think that definitely the chances are very much there that Nifty can again come in the range of 10,200 to 10,100. See, Nifty has already corrected 50% of its recent up move, what we have seen in last 7-8 weeks time. So now if it breaks that 50% retracement level, then the next target comes near to 10,360. And if it breaks that, then definitely it can test its recent low of 10,000 or 10,100. So I think one should be very much cautious, and especially till Nifty is trading below 200-day moving average, and if Nifty starts making lower top and lower bottoms, then I think one should be very much cautious.
Well, Nifty at this point of time is far away from its 200 DMA, 300 points if I'm not wrong. So quite a task as of now for Nifty to move above those levels. I'm also seeing that some of the IT names that closed at the lowest point of the day, TCS, which we were referring that is slightly outperforming, that stock closed down by 1.7%. In fact, some of the names in IT company like Wipro and NIT Tech also crashed and closed at the lowest point of the day. So even IT, which was seeing some sort of defensive buying, has also closed substantially down. CK, Manav, Manas, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insight on market and giving your trading ideas. Let's take a quick commercial break. On the other side of the break, we'll discuss that how one should position themselves or what one should anticipate in tomorrow's market and how you should position yourself accordingly. Stay tuned.